Hello everyone, welcome to Founders Friday. This is the first Founders Friday of obviously the new year and the new decade. Lots of familiar faces, lots of new faces as well, which is great to see, so thanks for coming. If you don't know what Founders Friday is all about, we do these every month. It's always on the last Friday of the month here in Tuss Park. If you've not been to Tuss Park before, it's a co-working, hot desking and event space. So if anyone wants somewhere where they can do some free hot desking Monday to Friday 9 till 4, you can come here. You just have to sign in at the desk. We've got Desdemona at the back there. She's a community manager, so if you want to know more about it, speak to her. And you've got Andrew Dixon from Barclays, who partners with Tuss Park, and he's the entrepreneur. I always get it wrong. Entrepreneur. What is it?
No, let's just go with the partner.
Right, okay. So his role is to make sure everybody gets the most out of this space and taps into Barclays network and helps businesses start and grow. We're actually based here, so we have one of the desks over in the corner there. So we've been here since not last May, but the May before. And for us, this is the perfect place to be based because it's 24-hour access. Right next to the train station, bus station, metro, everything's within walking distance from here, and it's been a great place to build our network and to be part of the community, not just in Newcastle but in the northeast. So I highly recommend anyone if you want to get more involved in the startup community, particularly the tech and digital community, but the startup community to start hanging out here, not just at Founders Friday. At the reception desk there's a lot of these leaflets as well, which tell you more about the offer of the Eagle Lab and some pricing here as well. Hot desking and co-working. But Founders Friday, if you want to see who's speaking, if you don't already know, if you go onto the newcastlestartupweek.com website and go onto the blog, it's pinned to the top. So it's got the schedule and who's speaking, so you can find out a bit more about each of the speakers after the event. You can follow them and learn more about what they do. And also we're live tweeting from the event, so Lisa here at the front will be doing lots of tweeting. We have our own Twitter account, so it's just Founders Friday. Okay, so at Founders Friday, so please do follow us and tweet about us. And then also we live stream everything through our Newcastle Startup Week Facebook page as well. So if you wanted to watch any of the talks after the event, you can go back on there. And we also, after the event, we go back into the event blog that I showed you before and embed the videos into that blog. So if you wanted to go back over it, then that's the way to do that. Okay, so that's a bit of an intro. I'm going to give you a bit of an update on Newcastle Startup Week. A lot of you will know about Newcastle Startup Week, but so we are the founders and event producers of Newcastle Startup Week, which is a big 5-day and 5-night festival for encouraging more people to start something new. Okay, that's the new strapline that I'm going with. Okay, so Newcastle Startup Week, start something new. We're trying to broaden out the appeal so it's not just business. Okay, so if anyone wants to just learn how to be more entrepreneurial, more innovative, more creative, we're broadening out into other sectors as well. But the core themes of Startup Week are going to stay the same. So over the 5 days, each day has a different theme. Day 1 is Inspiration Day. Okay, so everybody needs a bit of inspiration, doesn't matter who you are, right? So that day, last year, that's what it looked like. So that's the boiler shop behind the train station. We had just over 500 people there on day 1. And it was everyone from pre-start all the way to corporate and everything in between. So even if you're in a job but you just want to learn how to be more entrepreneurial or you want to tap into the kind of startup community, that's a great place to do that. But we have inspirational world-class speakers. We're starting to announce who the speakers are on the website. So if you go on there and see who's there, we're going to be announcing more over the next few days. But that's day 1, inspiration. Day 2 is the getting started day. So if you've got an idea, now what? How do you take that idea forward? Day 3 is the funding and finance day. So where's the money to start a grow business? So everything, grants, loans, crowdfunding, angel investors, venture capital, bids and tenders, that's all on day 3. Day 4 is the scale-up day. So how do you take your business to the next level, whatever level that is? How do you improve your systems and processes? How do you build teams? How do you accelerate your growth? How do you develop national and international partnerships and all that good stuff? And then Day 5 is keep going or pivot. So how do you keep going? Do you keep going? When do you know to stop and change direction? So it's the full entrepreneurial journey that you'll get across those 5 days. Last year we had just over 800 people. Okay, I'm aiming for 1,000 this year. Okay, so I'd love you all to come if you can, and if you can't, encourage other people to come to the events. We're trying to make it more national and international in focus as well. So pleased to say that if you look on our sponsors page, we've got loads of great sponsors, including some national and international sponsors. But if you look at where people came from last year, we're getting a good group of people come down from Scotland. Obviously most people are from the North East, but we're getting Cumbria, Greater Manchester, Midlands, Wales, South Coast, London, Cambridge, and internationally as well. We had people from North America, South America, that's Bolivia, we had Germany, France, Switzerland, Romania, Azerbaijan, China, Pakistan, India, Denmark. Okay, so that's some people all around the world are getting to hear about what we're doing and they're traveling here because we're offering something that they don't have in their local community. It's only 15 weeks away, right? I can't believe it's so close. And just an example of the national and international stuff that we're doing. We've just agreed a partnership with an organisation called, an event called Wolves Summit. Okay, so is anyone looking for investment? Yeah? Okay, great. Okay, so if you go on the blog as well, Wolves Summit is Europe's leading event for matching entrepreneurs with investors. Okay, so we partnered with them. I'm going to go over to Warsaw in Poland in March, and really keen to bring more Northeast-based entrepreneurs over there. And they want to partner with us because they've got entrepreneurs with serious cash to invest into businesses, but at the minute it's very Polish and Eastern European, and they want to make it more international. And what they found is when they get UK-based companies over there, the investors are really interested in the UK-based ones. The UK-based ones tend to do better often than the Polish ones or the Eastern European. So they've asked us to help get more Northeast-based businesses over there. Just an example, that one of the companies that went over from London last year, they met an investor and immediately he offered them 200,000 just from the meeting. And then they've gone back and they've raised another couple of 100,000 just from that one event. So if anyone does want to go over there, it's free to attend. Okay, if you're a startup looking for investment, it's free to attend. Just go on the blog and find out about that. And if you're not a startup but you're an investor or anyone else that's interested in businesses, you can get a discounted ticket through us as well. You can save 20% on your ticket. Even though it's free to attend, you'll obviously still have to pay for your flights and your travel to Warsaw, but the Department for International Trade, they should be able to help you with that. They're just waiting for their next funding stream to come on board. But have a look on there and encourage you to come along. If you can't go over to Warsaw and Poland, the Wolves Summit guys are going to come over and they're going to be speaking at our event in May. So they're going to be speaking on day 3, the Funding and Finance Day. So the head guys from Wolves Summit are going to be there speaking, and they're going to bring over some of their investors and their entrepreneurs over here as well. So that's just an example of one of the things that we're doing. Okay, that's kind of it from me for now. So I'll just invite up to the stage Lisa, who's going to talk about a lot of the cool stuff that the Sunderland Software City have now got going. All right, so round of applause for Lisa.
So we've got 2 new opportunities that I wanted to share with you today because I think it will be relevant. So one of them is, I don't know if anyone might have seen it in the news, but in December, some of our team visited China together with our partners here at TUSPARK and the University of Sunderland. And what came out of that is a partnership which is set to help entrepreneurs across the Northeast and UK explore trade in China. So essentially what we'll be doing is we'll be doing a focus group in the middle of February where entrepreneurs who are thinking of going to China can benefit from a tailored recommendation which will be assessing their potential to trade in the Chinese market. And that recommendation will be produced by our partners in China. So we'll be sitting down with you, talking about your pains, your challenges, your business. We'll then be sharing that information with our partners in China, our investors and business managers. and they'll be able to use their experience and their expertise to base their decisions on what they think the potential is. So that's all completely free. And then after that, though, we're still in talks of that at the moment to make sure we can confirm everything. You'll be able to travel to China with us in order to build your business. So the criteria for it is you've got to have a business that might be able to work in the international market. So if you have got a business that's based on very, very local infrastructure, that might be a little bit difficult. And you've also got to have a digital or a tech background. So if you're interested in that, you can just contact anyone from our team. I'll be around today as well, so feel free to ask me any questions about it. And as I said, we haven't got an exact date for groups yet, but it will likely be mid-February, and it will just be here in the Northeast. So the other one that we've got is, so I've heard there's some people looking for investment here today, which is great, and James Holloway is in the room here today as well, in the back. So he works with the Northeast Fund, who manage a £120 million investment fund in the Northeast. So they manage over 7 funds, and they've got money to invest. And they'll be doing free drop-ins at Sunderland Software Centre, which is the business centre that we're based in Sunderland, which anyone can attend. It will be every last Tuesday of the month between 9 AM to 1 PM, the hourly slot. So you get a whole hour to talk to James about any questions that you might have. But also, if you're not looking for an investment yet, or if you think it might be too early stage, it's still a great opportunity to ask about at what stage you should be considering it, or any questions that you might have surrounding what things you need to look out for, to prepare for, or even whether you think it's right for you. So that's every last Tuesday of the month. And if you'd like to sign up for that, our link is calendly.com/SunSoftCity. But I'll put it on Twitter as well, so you'll be able to find it there in a bit. So that's all of the opportunities for me right now. So if you want to talk to me about anything in the break, you can, or to James about investments, then feel free to do so.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so I talked before about how we're trying to make Newcastle Startup Week a bit more national and international, and something I've been talking about for the last 12 to 18 months and even longer is the opportunity to connect the northeast of England to the southeast of Scotland, particularly Newcastle and Edinburgh. So I've been going up there quite a bit, and people that I've been speaking to are quite receptive to the idea of more collaboration and more movement between the two cities, particularly because it's only an hour and a half on the train. Quite a similar kind of mindset amongst the people that I meet. Then the Viking connection is still quite strong there as well with the northeast in Scotland. And also, as you've seen, we've been getting a lot of a lot of delegates coming down from Scotland to Newcastle Startup Week, and we've been using a lot of Scottish entrepreneurs and business leaders as speakers. And our headline sponsor, Free Agent, are based in Edinburgh as well, so that's definitely helping. And I was up in Edinburgh yesterday all day for an open banking event, which is it's an initiative to encourage more banks and financial institutions to open up access to their data, so fintechs, startups and scale-ups can access that information and develop innovative new products and services. So that was a really, really good event at the Open Banking organisation. They appreciate that they've never done anything in the Northeast and they don't really know what's going on up here. So through a Free Agent, we're planning on doing an Open Banking event here in Newcastle soon. Okay, so look out for that. But with the Northeast Scottish connection, I'd like to welcome to the stage Danae, who's come down from Edinburgh today to talk about the law tech community in Edinburgh and the opportunities to connect what's going on up there with what's going on down here. So a big round of applause for Danae.
Hey everybody. I can get started without the slides.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm here to talk about just the law tech scene that's in Scotland, and I'm actually pretty new to the law tech scene myself. So it's the Newbies guide for anybody who is also a newbie. So I've spent the last 7 months in the legal tech scene, the law tech scene in Scotland. I'm based up in Edinburgh. I moved there about 16 years ago from Tennessee. Ooh, thank you. And I've been lucky to work in the Scottish tech scene that whole time. I was a developer. I then did the opposite career path to everyone and turned into a marketer. And I'm now co-founding a company that I'll tell you about later. And the company that I've worked for, you'll probably know is Free Agent. I was there for 5.5 years and kind of went with them through their scale-up journey into their IPO. So yeah, so my background is more fintech, and so I'm bringing a kind of fintech head into the law tech space now with this new startup. And so what I want to do, okay. What I want to do is just cover 4 quick things for you. So if you're not familiar with the legal market, as I wasn't last year, I'm just going to give you a very high-level overview of what I think is interesting about the legal market from a technologist's point of view. Then I'm going to talk about where law tech is right now, and then I'm going to tell you about what's going on up in Scotland, who the players are, what interesting businesses are happening, who, if you were interested, I could introduce you to. And then finally, I'm just going to point out a few areas that you could collaborate if you wanted to get more involved. Okay, so first, really high level, and I put bit.ly links if anyone wants to take a photo, if anyone's super interested in this. The Competition and Markets Authority did a report about the legal sector in 2016, and it was a 500-page document that basically boils down to this statement, which is, from the consumer side, there's not a lot of consumer information about legal services. They don't actually know how they could find a legal provider. This is across all consumer areas, so will writing, employment law, tenancy law, everything. So they don't know how to find someone, and fundamentally they don't have any understanding of how much a legal service might cost, what they would actually get from that legal service, and whether or not they're actually delivering a quality service. So what's super interesting about this report is it basically says at the end, we really need a marketplace. We need some kind of third party to bring transparency into this market, and that was their recommendation. I'll come on to marketplaces a little bit later on. It hasn't quite worked out that way, but the fundamental problem in the legal sector of consumers not really understanding where they could even access legal support is super interesting from my perspective. It does seem like a really interesting market to enter for a marketplace or some kind of other service on the consumer side. On the supply side, they also talk about that in this report. What they talk about is probably because of historical commercial structures and a lot of other things, legal firms are pretty slow to innovate, and as a market, the legal market is pretty slow to innovate. Because there's not a lot of transparency about price, quality and service, there's not a lot of competition going on between different legal firms and legal services. And so that is also fairly ripe for, dare I say it, disruption. There's a lot of, it's a slow market to kind of move into the technical innovation sector like we've seen in the accountancy market or the fintech markets and things like that. So that's a really high level overview. There's a massive asymmetry of information, and it's a pretty opaque market. And you can really sum all of that up with this stat, which is one of the stats that kind of drives me as a business owner, which is that 9 out of 10 people in the UK don't know when they have an actual legal problem. So they might have a problem that has legal recourse, but they would call it bad luck, they would call it a moral issue, but the word that they wouldn't use to describe it is legal. And that says to me that, especially as an American, I'm like, people don't understand that they have legal rights, and so they're not even considering whether or not they'd like to use legal support. And that is depressing, and also a really interesting open market if someone can address it. So that's the kind of wider legal market. The Law Society of England and Wales then produced a report that talks about, what about the legal tech, the law tech profession? What's going on in there? And fundamentally they say, when you compare law tech with fintech or the accountancy services or things like that, they're playing catch up with these other service-based industries. If you take a typical law firm and a typical accountancy firm, generally that accountancy firm is going to be more digitized or have more digital kind of offerings than the law firm. There are some growth areas in legal tech, and I just wanted to whiz through these in case anybody's interested. So legal analytics is getting more interesting, as is project management kind of stuff. So there's a lot of work in the legal tech sector that's about making things more efficient. There's more and more kind of compliance being put on lawyers, and so there's more technology kind of coming around there. And people are really interested in smart contracts. So if someone e-signs a contract, does it automatically transfer the funds, like triggered contracts and things like that. So there's a lot of people trying to automate these kind of contractual processes, which is super interesting. That's generally all the kind of growth areas are all on the B2B side. On the B2C side, there's some nascent businesses. So generally this is in the kind of more commoditized areas of the legal sector, like the will writing. You've probably seen Fair Will out there. The conveyancing sector, you can see a lot more kind of interesting tech businesses getting started in these sides of the legal market where it's fairly predictable, most cases aren't complex, and they can bring a lot more kind of automation or efficiency using technology to that sector. There are lots of people kind of trying to model the complexity of kind of legal advice and things like that into chatbots, or helping people kind of do their own legal work, considering that legal aid usage has dropped 82% in the last 10 years, and we know all about the legal aid cuts. A lot of people are now representing themselves at court, and especially for smaller cases, which has led a lot of people to just not know what to do in those situations. So there's some people trying to kind of fill that space. And they're also trying to build your kind of standard triage tools, so helping to, some big firms are trying to better qualify leads through chatbots and things like that. And then there's the part of the market that's struggling for traction at the moment, and that's marketplaces, which is really interesting because the Competition and Markets Authority really wants one in the space. And actually there are quite a few out there. There's review solicitors, there's solicitors.info. It's a really kind of classic marketplace play where you can give your solicitor a star rating. They've all got good SEO, but nobody has traction. And I think it's because the consumers, there's only 1 out of 10 even potentially Googling employment lawyer in Britain. And so it's not as big a market. That's a £12 billion market, the legal market for consumers and micro businesses, but that only represents that 1 in 10. So I think that's probably why they're getting having difficulty getting traction there. And that's where actually I started. I went from free agent to a marketplace business called CareSourcer, who help people find care for older people. Worked there for 18 months, really understood two-sided marketplaces. And when I first kind of got introduced to the legal market, I thought, brilliant, let's build a marketplace. And then very quickly realized that the market, especially the consumer side of the market, just isn't ready for a marketplace. There's not enough market education about the fact that someone who has a problem could actually get legal support from a lawyer. So that was where I started my journey with Vala back in the summer. So then we kind of moved on, and our fundamental mission is to help people use their legal rights to improve access to legal support. And so then we kind of iterated. We got some other jobs so that we could actually pay for some discovery time. So we spent a lot of time with consumers and spent a lot of time with lawyers to better understand where they are. And we're now at the stage where we have 2 MVPs, 1 live and 1 about to go live. And on the consumer side of the market, that market education problem was what really interested us. It's a pretty ill-advised thing to go after, really, as a business. Market education is a very expensive problem to try and solve. But we're really interested in a long play, an SEO play, where what we've identified is that a lot of consumers don't realize, we're focusing in on employment law to start with, and a lot of people don't even have a word or a label for what's happening to them. So afterwards they might say, I think I was being bullied in that job, or actually, was that maternity discrimination? But in the moment, they don't often know. And if you don't know, then you're not able to actually have options. You just probably leave the job because you don't know what else to do. So we're building a big library of anonymous stories over at vala.uk, which is aimed to help people self-label in the beginning. Eventually, if we can get a big enough collection, we can start to use machine learning to help people label through technology. But for now, that's kind of our long play. And then the other MVP that we have is over on the supply side. So the question that I keep asking employment lawyers is, how do you know how much to settle for? Because when you're in these difficult situations, especially with employment law, the difference between 2 months' salary versus 3 months' salary is literally giving that person another 30 days to find a job before they don't have an income. And so I'm really interested in, how do you know that you're providing the best service to those people? How do you benchmark? What is your insight? And the answer is often, I read a newsletter that tells me what the latest law is, and I look at the figures, but it's not, I have a benchmarking tool, I have an insights tool that I can use that helps me understand the characteristics of this case and what might be awarded a tribunal. So we're building that, and we're just about to start prototyping a product with employment lawyers later this month, which is, it looks fancy there because that's where we're heading, but actually it's just a spreadsheet. but hey, that's lean, right? So yeah, so let me just quickly tell you about so that's where we are. So I'll just tell you a little bit more about what's happening up in Scotland. So if you're interested in the legal tech kind of community up in Scotland, the first place I would go is talk to the Law Society of Scotland. They are so interested in legal tech, and they are so dedicated to making sure that they support legal technology businesses. And they've actually just launched this new accreditation called a legal technologist, which I don't think there's an equivalent in England and Wales yet, where they're actually accrediting people who are trying to improve the technology systems inside law firms and actually work with these technology businesses to create more efficiency, to create innovation and things like that. So the Law Society are a great place to start, and they also have a Law Scot tech community. So this is from their website, and this is literally this is a good kind of starting point for who are all the legal tech kind of companies in Edinburgh or in Scotland. And you can just go and visit all the different pages. So they're basically pulling all of us together, starting meetups, starting kind of collaboration to help us work with each other to start tackling some of the problems that we all share in this space. So I'm just going to tell you about a few of the big players. So these are all companies that I know and have met and would be happy to introduce you to if you want to talk to them specifically about something. So probably the biggest tech company, the most well-known legal tech company in Scotland is Amicus. So Amicus has a very similar mission to Vala. They want to bring legal access to everyone, and they started in the space of anti-money laundering checks because they realized that just after the point where you say, okay, I want you to help me, they then go through this terrible anti-money laundering procedure that everyone has to go through, and they thought, surely that could be easier. So they've actually built a really popular product called Amicus ID, I think, that does all anti-money laundering checks for professional services, not just lawyers, online. And now they're kind of branching out from that space. Really interesting company, and the founder of Amicus is probably like the biggest proponent of the legal tech scene in Scotland. Really nice guy, so a great company to kind of know about. There's also Opus 2. Now this is a more established company, but they're one of the most well-used document management systems for lawyers, and they're also based in Edinburgh. So the Grenfell inquiry, for example, right now is using Opus 2 as its case management or document management system. And here's a few kind of other places or other companies that are around in the scene that I know about. So Trace is a really interesting company that helps people manage their consumer or manage their users' personal data. So it's essentially a GDPR compliance tool. Really interesting product. They also have a consultancy side of things. So if people are interested in the GDPR space or reg tech, basically, that's a really interesting company to look at. Geralio is helping lawyers and law firms visualize their cases. So they build out timelines for lawyers instead of just giant reads of PDFs and things like that to help people understand what's actually happened in that case. And then these three are all consumer-focused businesses. My Probate Partner, they're at that commoditized end of the market in probate, and they're trying to help people who have gone or going through the probate process. I think they will have a consumer and a B2B kind of service, and they're probably a year ahead of Vala in terms of stage. LifeKey is a consumer play where they're offering secure storage for all of your legal documents so that you don't have to keep, similar to Amicus, you don't have to keep sending the same stuff over to your lawyers or professional service people all the time. And HR Solver was a tech company that span out of HR consultancy, and they are offering consumers or employers free, low-cost kind of chat access to HR experts. So for consumers, it's pay £10 to get 7 days dedicated chat access to an HR expert, and that's really useful for that kind of urgent kind of situation. Okay, really quickly, I just want to tell you about 2 opportunities that you have to collaborate if you're interested in this sector. One is Law Tech Bridge, which is part of the whole Barclays proposition, the Eagle Lab proposition. I know about it because of Codebase, which is the Eagle Lab partner up in Edinburgh. So they're bringing together lawyers and technologists all over the country. I think they've held 2 in London. They're going to hold 1 here in Newcastle soon, and they're holding them up in Edinburgh. And that's really a great way to get access to a lot of lawyers and a lot of thinkers. I think the Law Society also participates in this in England and Wales and in Scotland. So this is a really good place to get into if you're interested in this space. And then finally, I'm really interested in collaborating with anyone who's interested in open legal data. So obviously from my fintech background, I've seen, especially working at Free Agent, what open banking has done for the fintech industry. And now entering into this industry, I keep going, where's the transparency? Where's the access to the data? And I'd love to start working with people to start pushing for this, to start understanding what value it could add. So if there's anyone who's interested in this is my email address, and I'd love to chat to you about it. And yeah, if there's anything you want to follow up on, that's my Twitter and Instagram handle, and I'll be here all day, and I'd love to chat to you. And thank you for your time.
Has anyone got any questions for Danae now?
I have. I thought it was interesting when you said that many people aren't aware of the situation they're in that it could be a legal issue.
Yeah.
So I'm a mum of 2, and I haven't had this experience. I had great bosses and maternity leaves, but I've had a friend who's been pushed out from an architecture small firm. She basically left feeling like she was doing them a favour leaving, and they were really inappropriate with her throughout her pregnancy, and they made her partner, they didn't give her a contract. She had a really awful experience. I mean, she doesn't live in this city, and when I found out, I was like, and she just didn't want to make a fuss, and the other partners just kept on telling her that it's such a small world, everyone will know.
Yeah.
I mean, she was extremely distraught out and stressed. And then what question was, I mean, I found this out after the fact, obviously, but is there a time window when you can raise a grievance? Because obviously she resigned, and I mean, I was listening to this thinking, oh my God, but she thinks it's too late now.
I think it probably is. I think there is a time window. I don't know the specifics of it.
But you said it's recognising that you've got legal grounds. How do these girls know?
Yeah, so I have personas for the consumer side, and she would be my SAM persona, so someone who's gone through it already. And it might be that the only thing she can do now is try and help someone who's been through it, who's going through it right now. And our thing right now says, if you tell your story, someone's not going to Google employment lawyer in Brighton because they don't know that they have a legal problem, but someone like your friend in the middle of that situation might have Googled return to work meeting or something like that, and might find and be able to self-label so that they're actually able to decide what their option is. And it might still be that she decides to do nothing, but we're just trying to add that optionality to people.
And how are you marketing this awareness piece?
Right now, we literally just launched Valid.uk, and right now we're just going through social media. I'm doing a takeover of YWCA later this month, so just trying to get a SEO growth loop going as well. And so yeah, really early days, but right now I am basically collecting stories to try and help people kind of self-label. Any other questions?
Any more? I know there's at least 2 lawyers in the room from sit-ins.
Did that feel fair?
Yeah. How, because obviously Law Society Scotland kind of based, how are you then going to cross over for England and Wales? Because in some instances the law is very separate.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the reasons why we're starting with employment law, because it's not devolved. And actually it only represents 4% of the market, but it's a really interesting kind of sector for us. I think for now we're not going to worry about it too much because we're going to focus on employment law, but having worked at Free Agent especially, we know a lot about making sure that we kind of build that extensibility into our platforms, so we know that we'll be dealing with different, in the same way Free Agent deals with different income tax rates across the border, we'll be trying to build it in a way that means that it's extensible. Because again, we wouldn't really want to even stop at England and Wales. It would be let's try and build a platform that can bring insights to any legal market. That makes sense.
Definitely. And what you said about knowledge is absolutely key. Most times I get queries coming and they are out of time.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame because there would have been really good, genuine claims if only we were in the time scale, especially for employment law. It's a tight turnaround.
And then I've just got
Yeah.
a couple of questions about the idea of the North East and Scotland working more closely together. I know you're keen on
Yeah.
doing a bit more of that. So when I've been going up to Edinburgh, people like the idea when I talk about it, but often they've never even considered it.
No.
They've never even thought of looking slightly south of the border. So what do you think about that? How do we get over that? Or
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like we both have our little bubbles, right? And we know about London, and we know that we're not in that bubble, but we don't think about the other bubbles that are closer to us. And I think it's just trying to figure out through events like this, or through the kind of now that I know I'll be starting to talk to other people and things like that. I think I think actually Barclays could probably help us with this through the Eagle Lab project, because it's dotted around the whole country. Trying to remember that there's not just that other big bubble. Because yeah, I mean, an hour and a half on the train, like, there's so much value in us talking to each other and collaborating on projects, and even just talking about fundraising and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Great. Okay, thanks today. So you're going to be here all day, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, right. Okay. Thanks. A round of applause for we've got a single slide, I think, for the next hour. So I'm going to invite up Amy Wardley from Generator Digital Union, who's going to talk about the business coaching program that you have available. Is that right? Yeah. So a big round of applause for Amy.
Hi, my name's Amy Wardley. I'm going to keep this brief, but I work for a company called Generator, and we're a music and business support agency, and we're just about to launch our business coaching program, which is LEP funded, and it's run by a company called Supply Chain Northeast, and the intention is to help businesses, small to medium enterprises, so that's up to 250 staff members, with their digital transformation, which is quite a broad term that can mean everything from so winning new customers in existing markets, to explore opportunities in other sectors, improve your operations and internal processes, using technology to help drive improvement and developing new ideas to take to market. And that's just like kind of an idea of what we can do. We've got a number of business coaches, mainly based in Newcastle, so people like Helena Hill, who's a consultant, right down to Jane Longrig, who works with arts organisations. And the only real kind of criteria is that it needs to be a small to medium enterprise, so anything up to 250. And again, we can help with anything digital, but that can be quite broad. So one of our more recent recruits is the Chile Art Studios, which is an organisation which is an art studio focused on people with learning and mental health difficulties, and they're about to launch their look at shifting direction to launch an art supply shop. So it's kind of helping with that. How would you go online, and that kind of thing. And also we've got Alex in the back, who's some ACT copywriting. He's just a relatively new startup, so our business coaches are hopefully going to help him to look at his processes, kind of how he gets his brand together, and really start building that online brand really. And so it's 12 hours coaching, and it would be across a number of months, so it may be like 2-3 hours across one, and then just how it works with the business coach. And the way that it works is you go to the website there, Supply Chain Northeast, and fill out an expression of interest form, which has like information. It then gets assigned, and then it may be assigned to Generator, or it may be assigned to other business coaches within there. So it's a really, really useful scheme. And it's like I say, it's funded by the North East Growth Hub and the European Union, so get it while you can, guys. Delivered by Generator, and also just as a separate plug for Generator, we're starting to run a lot of events around helping startups as well. And so one of the things that we want to do in April is a well-being event. So particularly if you're someone who's remote working, it can get a little bit lonely. So kind of how do you deal with that? And we're also looking at digital ethics as well. And that's it really. Any questions?
Questions?
Hi.
What does a business coach do?
So they'll come in and they'll work with you. So there might be like, they'll come in and just help you. So it might be that you need help with your website, or just help to identify areas of the business that you can improve upon. So just giving you a bit more information about that. Hi.
Do you accept new coaches by any chance?
At the moment we're not, but that's not to say in the future that we won't be. I don't know if it's the honest answer. Any other questions? So then we'll be around for a little bit longer, but please go to the website or Generator's website, which is generator.org.uk.
I've got a question.
Hi.
I know that's not what you're here to talk about, but do you want to mention Digital Union for anyone that doesn't know?
So Digital Union is it's a membership organisation that's about giving businesses access to other businesses. So we run a lot of specific events around digital marketing and HR, and also it's about just kind of building communication and collaboration within the North East as well. So if you want to talk about that, we can also help there.
Okay. Right. Thank you. Right. Big round of one of the reasons we do these events is to show people the range of support that's available, because there is a lot of help and advice on offer. This is Mark. Mark's going to be speaking later. He's going to be doing a taster session for the High Potential Startups program. So if anyone has real ambition to have a very big successful company, £1 million turnover, does anyone want a £1 million turnover business? Yeah, okay, hands up, yeah, all right. Well, you need to stick around because Mark's going to be doing that session this afternoon, okay, but I know there's at least one person in the room who can't be here this afternoon, so that's Mark over there with his hand up, okay, so try and grab him during the break. Just on that last bit, Digital Union, I am a member of Digital Union and I'm also a member of Dynamo North East. So they're both membership organisations. I think they kind of come at kind of opposite ends, but kind of meet in the middle, and there's a bit of crossover. But generally speaking, when people ask what they are, Digital Union, I think, is ideal for micro to medium-sized businesses. So if you're just a solo founder or a small business, especially if you're a digital creative, I think Digital Union is perfect for you because that's who most of the membership is made up of. So lots of great events and workshops for the members. Digital Union tends to be like the large to medium turnover. So like the Sage, HP, Accenture, Ubisoft, all the major IT and software companies. And there is a difference between digital creative and tech, like pure tech software. So there's a little bit of crossover, but that's how we think of those two. Okay, right, and we're going to break now. We're going to have a short little coffee break, and then we'll come back in for the show and tell, where we've got 4 really cool new businesses. I'm going to tell you about what they're working on, so please come back to that. But we're going to break for a coffee now. Okay, thank you. All right.